Hi, everyone. Welcome for joining BPM for our nonprofit education series today on the digital transformation in the age of COVID-19. I would like to welcome our speaker today is Britt Tompkins, who's a director at BPM and works in our technology solutions practice. Britt has more than 10 years of experience in the practice leader of technology solutions and platform, and she is based out of BPM's Orange County office. She takes a hands-on approach to engagements and incorporates value-add services for all clients in developing a team of tech-savvy professionals along the way. She specializes in consulting, outsourced accounting, and technology platforms to simplify business processes and implement cloud accounting platforms to allow for better financial and operational insights. And I do want to say I'm very excited for today's presentation. Britt and I talked about this topic in December that we thought it'd be a great way to introduce some of our nonprofit clients and contacts to how they could best utilize the digital and technology in helping to move the organizations forward. And based on where we stand in today's situation and the COVID-19 situation, we really thought that this would be beneficial to everybody. And as we are all working from home and utilizing technology a lot more than we were planning to when we first started the discussion on this topic back in December. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Britt to get us started.
Thank you, Shannon, for the opportunity to join the webinar and talk tech today. I sure am excited to discuss digital transformation. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Britt Tompkins, Director here at BPM. Such a nice introduction there, Shannon. I work in our technology solutions group, and I help our clients select, implement, and support technology throughout their business, whether it be with financial programs or operational programs. And so looking forward to talking about digital transformation today here to the group. Over the past several weeks, and now it seems like maybe even a couple of months, the way that we work has changed, right? If we think telecommuting, people in many industries that formerly prohibited it, we're now working from home. I know Shannon mentioned I'm out of the Orange County office, but I'm actually in my bedroom today presenting to everybody here on technology. They're on-demand food services, so grocery delivery is now the norm for many of those who wouldn't even have bothered with that service in the past. Talk about virtual events. No one's flying. Gatherings are prohibited. The events industry really took a big hit this spring. But many companies have shifted, and they've shifted their budgets and their content to be digital. So thank goodness for BPM Nonprofit Educational Webinar Series. Excited to still be able to present to the team. And also the cloud. So even short physical distances would present a challenge for collaboration between coworkers without it. Real-time wouldn't be as easy. Streaming would be a problem. Smartphones wouldn't be smart. And those are just a few things that have changed in the past few weeks. Now we've really adapted to these unprecedented changes. We're mobile, we're social, we're flexible, we're adept at change. We're starting to trust the data and the new technology tools that we're having to use, such as Zoom, DocuSign, Smartsheets, and Microsoft Teams, to really provide the solution that's going to make us more efficient, productive, and allow us to remain working. COVID-19 is seriously accelerating digital transformation across all industries. A year from now, you may look back on this COVID-19 pandemic and reflect, maybe something good came out of it, the digital transformation of your organization. Digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes to expand culture, affect change on your donors and funders and constituents, and to meet changing business, challenging and changing business and market requirements. This reimagining of business in the digital age is digital transformation. Digitalization, it's not really entirely a new concept. It's just meant different things throughout the years. So as we've made the shift from a typewriter to a computer or to a fax, to an email, every technological evolution marks an uptick in productivity and performance. And the most successful and resilient organizations make sure they're ready to accept the challenge and to adapt. To understand digital transformation, let's explore an example. An organization, maybe yours, manages its nonprofit database in a CRM that does not integrate well with its email. Donors have to be added to the email list via Excel spreadsheets, and then donations are processed through a third-party website, which has to be synced manually with the CRM. Oh, and also manually recorded into that accounting system too. While this is all happening in the digital world, nothing's connected. Digital transformation in this case would imply taking maybe a cloud CRM system, such as a Salesforce, and correctly integrating it with an automated email marketing solution, such as Pardot, Marketo, or HubSpot, which is then further linked to that third-party donation tool like a Fundly or a PayPal, right? And that tracks who's donated, when, and how much. So in terms of finding efficiencies, all actions have been logged automatically across the system. And when it comes time to send that reminder email about donations, you can make sure those who've already donated aren't going to be receiving that same message again. And when it comes time to check in with an individual donor, all donation and activity history is neatly documented in their CRM record. Once an organization has undergone a digital transformation, it can easily step back and see what's working and what isn't, which work streams merit more or fewer resources, and more generally, what steps need to be taken to optimize effective approaches. Digitalization, it all comes down to people, process, technology, and how they intersect. So people, right, we're the ones doing the work. Technology helps us get what we need to do done. It helps us perform the work. Processes, that's how we do it, right? How do we get our work done? When you see people and technology start to intersect, we start to gain innovation. When technology and process intersect, that's when we start to get some automation. And when processes and people intersect, that's when we're really able to scale what we're doing. Now, when all three intersect, that's when we win. While digital transformation can't happen overnight, it does require some internal buy-in, some analysis, some planning, right, and some budgetary funds. It does allow a mission-driven organization to move to that next level and ensure that your mission is getting the priority that it needs. As a nonprofit leader, you're focused relentlessly on driving impact. But do you ever sometimes get the feeling that maybe what you're doing isn't enough? Well, you're not alone, especially in today's COVID-19 age. Nonprofits everywhere are struggling to address an unrelenting wave of complex issues, even as the resources to address these challenges are becoming increasingly scarce. I encourage you to start thinking differently about your non-for-profit equation by adding a technology partner. Your equation to having an impact on the community is changing, and technology is being added as part of that sequence. What you need really is a means to transform the way your organization works, so you can do far more with the resources that are available. Technology has extraordinary power, there's no doubt about it, but it's not the answer alone by itself. Adopting a well-thought-out digital strategy that connects your people, process, and technology can accelerate your impact to serve your constituencies and realize your mission. Let's think about how technology and digitalization has changed nonprofits. Right now we have online donation tools. People are sending money online or on their phone. You can sign up for grants online. Social media is spreading the word for you. Volunteers are being contacted through email lists and signing up without ever meeting anybody from your organization, simply by signing up online or responding to a Facebook ad. And this has changed the way that we run our campaigns, that we raise our funds, that we influence our audiences, and that we advocate on the behalf of our mission. In my opinion, you simply can't move forward without digitalization. Let's talk a little bit about if your organization's ready. Now, digital transformation, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's not, something to check off a list, but instead it becomes a mindset and becomes part of an organization's culture and experience. When a company approaches transformation with that in mind, it creates much more manageable transformation process. Some questions to ask yourself and maybe even your team during your next team meeting, right? Is the organization motivated to undergo this digital transformation? Can we prioritize good digital skills for all of our personnel? Is the organization reimagining how to achieve its mission with scale and speed? Is technology embraced? Is it seen as an enabler of change or a driver of automation? Is data valued as a critical protected asset to improve your impact in your operations? And is your board ready to set aside some funds and invest in the organization's future, right? These are some of the questions that you'll want to ask yourself. Change and venturing into the unknown can be difficult, but the benefits that come from creating this forward-thinking digital non-for-profit plan, it can be long-lasting. And perhaps, again, maybe it's the silver lining for organizations in the age of COVID-19. Sometimes forced change could be a good thing. Now, you may think, oh, I think some of those questions are relevant. I have answers to them. Maybe we are ready to move forward. How do I get started, right? So the first step in building an effective digital strategy is to really establish a common language and a frame of reference that all of your stakeholders can really rally around. You want to visualize the key connection points between people, process, and technology in your organization. We recommend assessing your current approach to technology across the 4 essential outcomes of the nonprofit digital strategy. And those include engaging your donors and volunteers, empowering your employees, optimizing operations, and innovating for impact. To get started, we recommend you complete the nonprofit strategy assessment to identify current gaps in your approach to digital technology, prioritize opportunities for growth, and gain insights into what the next level of transformation looks like. You can build a transformational digital strategy by building consensus and gaining support from senior leadership, middle management, and program teams to build a culture of innovation. Leaders from across the nonprofit will have to work together, sometimes in challenging ways, by also engaging donors, volunteers, employees, and beneficiaries to get their input into the transformation process. Only by doing so can you create a digital experience that reflects the same personalization, flexibility, convenience, security, and privacy your constituents have come to expect in their everyday lives. After you've built consensus and that digital transformation is needed, we recommend creating a digitalization roadmap. And this is going to help you create, deliver, and communicate a transformative strategy and bring it to life. Now let's talk a little bit more about the actual process of digitalization, and I'd like to start with people. Because let's face it, without our people, we wouldn't have the ability to execute. We wouldn't have true adoption, and we wouldn't have clear direction. Putting people first requires for them to be aware of the changes, right, that are coming. Therefore, I encourage you to take the time to be transparent with your employees at every level and implement a clear structure to prepare them for the digital transformation, highlighting how it will change your organization for the better. Now, you may think digitalization starts with technology. However, the success of digital transformation is not predominantly determined by the scale of technology investments. Even if you applied innovative new ways and combinations, technology by itself does not transform an organization. Successful digital transformation is primarily determined by the degree to which of people who are empowered to actively embrace constant change as an opportunity for growth and innovation. And remember, strategy, culture, and leadership make digital transformation happen. It's your people that are facilitating the change. Organizations can sometimes see a low adoption with the implementation of new technologies due to staff not being prepared to adapt and incorporate these new tool sets into their work routines. And so I thought I would share some tips of what we've experienced when helping companies implement technology and what made it successful. And so I have found that one of the primary reasons for failure of technology adoption is resistance to change. Not everybody's excited to learn new processes and new ways of doing things. And so that's something that you'll need to mitigate, and you'll need to work with your staff and your people to show them why we're doing this and how it's going to make the organization better and maybe even their lives a little bit easier. So what does successful change management look like? Well, first, we recommend rethinking the problem and considering educating employees rather than informing them, right? If you consider your employees' work habits, how they collaborate, what their goals are, and ultimately, who are the change champions amongst the teams, now leaders can start to affect change and affect it more quickly. Secondly, I encourage you to look at your training practices. Maybe the intense one or multi-day training sessions on new technologies are too much. Rather, consider shorter learning sessions or on-demand e-learning solutions that are focused on the employee's specific role. This will allow users to select and use assets most pertinent to their current needs. This will make training really relevant for them. It's going to increase their engagement because it directly affects what they're doing. You're going to improve your overall training and job efficiency and start building a learner interest. Now, momentum is critical here. So to feel this, be sure to show incremental results along the way. How employees feel about the initiative can impact the success or the failure. Leveraging an agile development methodology and adapting to change strategy can help establish that momentum. So for example, releases may be done on a quarterly basis while key stakeholders see progress every few weeks. It's more consistent. These demos can solicit feedback and ensure the right functionality is built in instead of waiting for an all-day training, right? It's much easier for end users to see a demonstration and explain if it looks or feels right than it is for them to sometimes review just a set of written requirements. So hands-on when you can. Lastly, plan for inevitable delays. All change initiatives have hiccups that you won't be able to anticipate. Since momentum is essential, address dependencies in parallel if you can. And also let the team know in advance that yes, there could be some hiccups along the way, and it's okay if certain dates are moved around. So it's a flexible plan. It's not so rigid. So if people, we're a week off, they start to not be as active in terms of helping, and they feel like they've failed, and you don't want that to come across in terms of your change management. A number of other subtle adjustments can be done to create a significant difference, but these four are a great start towards increasing your company's adoption of new technology. Speaking of people, there are several ways to work with your human resources department or even our expert, Jill Pavenheimer here at BPM, on a people digitalization plan. This is going to allow you to align remote working employees with managers. And right now, feedback can be really difficult, right? You're used to doing that walking by somebody when you're meeting with them, and you're not necessarily doing those activities right now. And so there are tools that we have that can help align employees' goals, help them feel connected, and be able to provide that constant feedback, right? And employees right now, maybe they are feeling a little bit disconnected. Maybe grab them a coach and help them feel engaged and track their progress. And people feel empowered when they're working on a common goal, and that goal is also in the best interest of your organization. You could also install a technology such as a human resource information system to help your overall payroll and benefits administration process go easier. And so this could help some of your back office team, but then it's also going to affect your employees as a whole, maybe being able to access certain things online and having the capabilities of a new system. So that's something you should also think about when you think about people.
And Britt, I just wanted to take a pause there for a moment. You know, one of the things that did come through as a question was, how to best help manage your remote workforce as you've moved into this digital age. And I did want to highlight that the presentation that we did about 2 weeks ago for the nonprofit series was specifically on how to manage your remote workforce. And that presentation is available on our website. You can see both the presentation slides as well as the recording of the webcast that was hosted. And that was hosted by our HR specialist, Jill. So for those who have that question as well, of not just the digitalization on how to best use it for your organization, but also the managing of the people in the remote workforce that we're currently in the process of using, that is available.
Absolutely. Such a hot topic right now, managing your remote workforce. Jill really did put together a great presentation. So if you weren't able to attend, I do recommend you guys go and take a look at that. Very valuable stuff. Next, I want to move into a little bit about business processes and automating that and how this fits into digitalization. And so business process automation, it's the technology-enabled automation of complex business processes. It can streamline a nonprofit for simplicity, achieve digital transformation, increase your service quality, improve delivery, or even contain or reduce costs. So it's the use of technology to automate repeatable day-to-day tasks, right? It accelerates how work gets done by routing information to the right person at the right time through user-defined rules and actions. Business process automation helps organizations streamline processes. So think about employee onboarding, your accounts payable process, maybe contract management, right? Start thinking about your business processes. When you start to make a list of your processes that are ready for transformation, keep in mind, you want to think through what processes have high volume tasks, duplicate data entry, and impact other processes and systems. Those are going to have a high impact in terms of the return on investment. For example, what about going paperless? Shannon, you were just sharing with me the other day an experience you had with one of your audit clients about going paperless. Would you mind sharing that?
So one of the things that we're seeing from our audit side is those organizations that have already started to implement some type of a paperless bill system or the online cloud computing is actually making the audit process very seamless. We're able to get access as an auditor file, and it's taking time away from the people who need to sit there and actually be pulling invoices and vendor files. And instead, as auditors, we're able to go and just click through the system. We're able to see from the accounting system the invoice that was issued, who approved it in the system. And it really does save time on everybody's side, as opposed to us coming up with a list of invoices that we want to see, a list of the check copies and how it cleared through the bank statement and the approval. And instead, we're able to go in directly to the system and get that information. The other thing that we're seeing is for those organizations who have started some type of an implementation on this online paperless activity, their audits are progressing as if nothing has changed. We're not needing to deal with going out directly to the organization's site and spending days upon days on trying to look through stacks and stacks of paper. I do have quite a few clients that we probably were spending 2 days just going through paper files to get our audit evidence, and being able to review that on a screen, even if it's taking an hour up front to walk through how a system works, really is a time saver for everybody. It allows the organization's team to focus on the day-to-day and the accounting and the mission of the organization, instead of spending 2 or 3 days gathering information for the auditors. And as we're talking about the going paperless, one of the questions that came up was, Britt, if you have any insight regarding the different types of solutions that people could use for a paperless bill pay system and digital file management system as well.
Yes, A virtual bill payment solution should really be thought through in terms of not only the system's functionality and capabilities, but also we want to take into account what general ledger package you're using. Because all of that data, coding of the expenses, cutting of the checks, right, needs to be posted to your general ledger. And so some of the most popular ones out there, I think the most popular one that BPM uses to even service our clients is Bill.com. And it's a pretty great program. I don't have much bad to say about it, maybe except if you have multiple entities. Excuse me. The other one that we really like to work with is Concur. It's more of an enterprise level solution that also allows for expense reimbursement management and has a little bit more sophisticated features and functionalities. And so those are the two that BPM has vetted, that we use, that we're partners with, that we trust, that has the right securities and fraud precautions in place. But there are many others out there, and that is something that I do help our clients solve for, is learn a little bit about their organization, what they're using now, and help them select something. So if you have further questions about what program would be right for your organization, I'd love to talk to you after the presentation and help get you the answers that you need.
Just as a follow-up question on that, we do have a lot of the people on the call who most organizations use Blackbaud or a Blackbaud type of accounting system, as that was really one that was used for many nonprofits and many of our clients. And so the question is that, Blackbaud has started to move into this digitalization and trying to do the bill payment and the digital filing system, and just what insights you may have or any experience that may have come up in using Blackbaud specifically as they've moved into this area.
Yeah, I've seen a little and heard a little bit of feedback from some of our nonprofit clients using it. I personally don't recommend it yet. I don't think it's where the product needs to be in terms of offering the right level of service for our clients. And it can be really difficult for a program to kind of go on-prem versus cloud. So I think they're still kind of figuring that out. But you're right, Blackbaud is going through this. There's several other companies too. They're going through this. Gosh, we built our solution on-premise 20 years ago, and it's just not working anymore. And so they are trying to come up with ways to have more digitalization in their product. I personally am not quite ready to recommend it yet, and so I think that's where I would weigh in.
And I would also echo that, as they are a package that many of our nonprofits are used to, but they're still developing it. It's still in the infancy phases. So it really would be up to an individual organization for how much time do they want to spend on being in that infancy stage as it's just getting developed. But the flip side of it is a platform that you already are used to as it moves from the old platform to the new cloud digitalization platform. So there is a trade-off on both sides of that.
Right, and do you want to tie your nonprofit success or change pace to the pace of a software company? Yeah, I don't know. That would be something that you'd want to think through. Like, hey guys, we want to have change, and we want it now, and we want the efficiencies and the return on investment, and we want the digitalization. You might need to look at a different product. So it just really depends on how quick your organization's looking to move. There's tons of options out there, but there's certainly a player in the field. So let's talk about how many of you are doing the following tasks by hand. I wish we were in a room and I could see your hands go up. How many of your team's responsibilities do you think you could actually hand off to, say, a machine, a technology? How much time are they really kind of spending on these administrative, mundane tasks? Imagine how much more your team could accomplish with twice as much time and no dull data entry bogging them down. This can help your organization cut operating costs, leaving you with the budget to spend on innovation. So what if you could get that work done faster without variance or mistakes? You could hire the most capable people, but unless they're robots in disguise, there's going to be a variance and sometimes a mistake in the work. With automation, you'll reduce this risk by giving the repetitive tasks to a computer. This helps make output more predictable. It's going to reduce your mistakes, which is going to make Shannon happy, and help make your team happier. Whoever used to have to trawl through those spreadsheets is suddenly going to feel a lot better about their job. Since a machine can run constantly without rest, you could have it process large sets of data on autopilot 24/7. That's something you're not going to get even out of the most dedicated employee. And are you ready to reduce errors and get work done faster and to manage a happier team? I understand that figuring out where to start can sometimes feel overwhelming. And so I wanted to highlight a few processes that you could consider starting with. The optimal way to redesign a business process is to brainstorm what technology can make this easier and maybe even automate some of these steps. So we briefly talked about virtual bill payment, right? Let's get away from cutting manual checks, storing invoices in a cabinet. Let's get away from that. And our number one platform that we use is Bill.com. Maybe you need a donor management or a CRM system, right? Salesforce has a great nonprofit version. It integrates with many popular accounting GL packages and has a ton of great features. So that's something I would suggest looking into. Maybe you need help managing your grants. Time to stop doing that in a binder or on an Excel spreadsheet. There's a program called Flux, F-L-U-X-X. Think about back office processes, right? Think about programs such as DocuSign, Microsoft Teams, Smartsheets. This is something that our team just went live with Microsoft Teams and Smartsheets, and it's great. We all can work on the same documents, share it back and forth, and all of our changes are saved at the same time. I love these programs. And think about having, in terms of processes, not only is it just adding a new technology, think about maybe vendors start emailing you your invoices instead of mailing them to you, right? So there's also little things that you could do. It's not just about signing up for a new technology. It's really thinking through the processes that you have and does it make sense for today's age? And you can also think about collecting donations with Stripe. And having that automatically post into your general ledger system or with PayPal, right? So that could be a process. How does my revenue get posted? So these are just some of the processes that you can consider working on. I encourage you to have a brainstorming session with your team, because if you sit down with them and say, what takes you, out of the month, what takes you the most time? They're automatically going to say, oh, I hate doing this one thing. It takes me 16 hours. That's something that you're going to want to start with and pay attention to. It actually takes a little bit to get here, right? We need to assess our people and motivate them and evaluate our processes and figure out what we want to change. Then we get to the cool stuff, the technology, right? It isn't just about replacing paper with PDFs. Digitalization aims to make processes more cost efficient, streamlined, error-proof, and transparent. So with automated processes in place, organizations save time and ensure best practices. But what's the best way to automate? Technology. Despite its power, maybe technology could seem a little scary at first. If you're a team leader, you might be worried that it's going to take too much time to set up. You might be worried that it means hiring engineers, or your team could be scared that their jobs are going to be taken, right? And that's just not the case. Technology is a powerful tool that your team can use to be more efficient. Using it lets you hand off the menial tasks that nobody really likes to do anyway to computers, so that everyone can focus on the important work that only humans can do. Technology is designed to let people produce more work at a higher standard with less effort. So let's talk a little bit about automation. One of the biggest benefits of technology is automation. And, well, why should you automate? It's going to give you clarity. Automation necessitates a certain amount of clarity about the processes right at the designing stage. So if you don't know the tasks involved and the people responsible for running the process, you can't design and automate a workflow accurately. Further, process mapping can really provide clarity to all employees and serve as a training resource as well. The insights you gain from analyzing an automated process can clearly show you the gap between your process as it is and as it should ideally be. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in the next slide. It will also help you streamline. So one of the greatest outcomes is having a streamlined process, clear accountability, customizable notifications, valuable insights, and a faster turnaround time. That's going to make it easier to eliminate wasteful activities and focus on enhancing the tasks that add value to your organization. Compliance. With business process automation, every detail of a particular process is recorded. I know this is especially true for the accounting packages that we help install, right? This information can be presented to demonstrate compliance during audits. We just talked about with Shannon how some of her clients are going to the cloud. We're giving them read-only user access. They're able to log in and see the trails, the approval processes, the internal controls, right? And I know she really likes that. Standardization of operations. So when you automate that process, you can expect a consistent standard of outcomes every time. So it helps you to position your organization as being reliable, which in turn can help increase your donor and your funder base. Oftentimes, systems are implemented and the capabilities aren't necessarily aligned with best practices and existing processes. And it leaves a gap, right? Your team is still having this manual workaround. The process kind of weaves maybe around the system or through the system, but it's not a clear flow. And so there's this gap. And maybe you're manually importing, exporting, double data entering things. You want to start addressing these issues. And so my recommendation to you is to minimize this risk, is to really set an ongoing growth by switching to a system whose capabilities, like your organization, is dynamic. So you want to find a system that delivers new innovations and capabilities on a frequent, ongoing basis. So as your nonprofit changes, or as the revenue recognition standards change, right, that just happened, you could have a system that provides more automation for those changes. But that's not enough. It's no use to just switch to a system that can support a process change and offers new features if the cost to set up those features to support the new process is too high. So you need to be tech savvy, and we can help you, right? Help you find the systems whose capabilities are easy to adopt, who can help close the automation gap and be cost effective for you and your team.
Great, thank you, Britt. We'll take a little pause right there. And I do want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, we have just over 10 minutes left in the presentation. And I want to make sure that if you do have questions that you're able to submit them so they could be addressed. One of the questions that came in, and I hear this from quite a few of my smaller nonprofits, is their use of QuickBooks. and QuickBooks Online and their bill pay options and their invoicing options. And for what I have seen is on many of our smaller nonprofits, the QuickBooks version works great. They're able to use it. It's something that they're used to using, similar to the Blackbaud, and it works for their organizations. Wanted to kind of know if you had any other thoughts or opinions for those nonprofits who are using that as their option.
Yeah, so I would encourage you to, and I think once you have that meeting with your team and you start asking what takes you the most amount of time, if your team starts saying things like, Shannon, it takes me 5 hours to generate those 3 reports that you asked me for, right? That's a big red flag. So is your system working for you and with you, or is it kind of working against you? And we'll talk a little bit that on the next slide. But the idea here is there are systems out there that are still low cost, right? I can think of Sage Intacct. I think NetSuite also has a nonprofit edition where you can get the robust reporting capabilities, right? So you can pull your statement of functional expenses for your 990. You can run by project or program. You can do grant tracking, right? It's about not simply using a system to record finances, but to encompass operational sorts of features in there as well. And so I would encourage you to expand your horizons when your organization is ready. And you'll start to see a huge return on investment when you can track your data and produce those reports for even your board package like this. So there's a big difference. There's a big gap. Yes, QuickBooks does the accounting and helps you reconcile your checkbook, but I think there's a little bit of a gap in terms of reporting and operational metrics. So technology, working for you and not against you. Finding technology can be difficult, right? I encourage you to reach out to us at BPM, to reach out to fellow nonprofits and ask what they're using, right? So some of the lessons that we've learned from the front lines is we recommend choosing cloud-based platforms that have open APIs, and an API is an applicable programming interface. And all that simply means is that something on the back, like a QuickBooks, can integrate with like a Bill.com, right? It's a handshake on the back end. You even want to think through, well, what programs are cloud-based, already built in the cloud, right? That's important because switching over can take time, like we're talking about that today. But also maybe have features like machine learning, so it gets smarter as you use it, or optical character recognition, so you can scan something in and it's going to recognize the invoice, the document, it's going to file it for you, it's going to code the bill for you. So start thinking when you thinking of those sorts of features when you're looking for technology. Now, the benefit of adopting cloud solutions in finance is unquestionable. So we find that the cloud brings further acceleration and swiftness. The cloud technology expedites new digital workflows, so we can get more done in less time. And so we like using it for business processes such as HR, accounting, back office, right? As the workforce and the team get comfortable with the application, then we start integrating it with some of the other core systems. And so it really becomes a technology stack or an integrated cloud solution instead of just standalone on-prem on somebody's one person's computer who knows how to use it. It's more of a collaborative tool. Great. So you might be thinking, I need some help. And I'm here to tell you that we can help. If you want help building your digital transformation strategy roadmap, if you want help connecting your employees and their managers to your organization's mission, right? Do you want an internal controls review? Would you like us to set up a new system for you or optimize your current one? There's tons of things that we can do to help you on your process to becoming a digitalization. So please reach out. Happy to consult with all of you on the call, and thank you so much for participating.
So as we're entering into wrapping up the presentation, please do feel free to continue to submit any questions that you have. And one of the things that we did want to highlight is BPM does have a specific COVID-19 resource center on our website. We do have some items that are very specific to our nonprofits, as well as to any organization or company that is out there. So we did want to highlight that that information is available free for our clients and friends of the firm. In addition, I wanted to let you know that this presentation will be available on our website for anyone who was unable to join the live presentation. And the slides will be available at the end of the week, and the recording of this presentation will be available shortly thereafter. And the last type of housekeeping item that I have as we're sitting and regarding any questions that people have is we do have an upcoming webinar that is the accounting and tax update. This is normally a very well and popular event, and we will be having that as a webcast, and that is going to be held on July 23rd, and it will cover any of the most recent updates and accounting changes, both in the world and the tax rules, which there are quite a few new tax rules that we will be addressing during that presentation. One of the things I'm trying to do with this presentation was not really highlight any one platform or service provider that could be used to create the digitalization, but really just talk about the value add that we put into helps organization there. And so hopefully you're able to find this beneficial in understanding your options that are available to you as you look into working with your employees and others in your organization, as it is a team effort. You don't want to make that decision without getting, as Britt said multiple times in her presentation, buy-in from everybody. Understand what are some of the pain points that your employees have. It may not just be the GL or accounting system, but is it a larger impact that your system has? Now, Britt, is there any other kind of final thoughts that you wanted to address to the group?
Just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to let me speak to you. Shannon's right. There are so many tools out there. It was hard for us to just kind of pick one. So we wanted to get the creative juices flowing today and get you start thinking about some of the ones that I mentioned and start doing some research. Reach out to us if you need help. Every organization's a little bit different, and so we hope that you find this valuable. And I look forward to having another opportunity to speak to the group, Shannon.
So with that, just wanted to remind everybody of the contact information for the various BPM as well as the BPM nonprofit team that we have throughout all of our offices. So please, as Britt said, feel free to reach out for any questions or anything that comes up that's very specific to you and your organization as you're going through and trying to decide what is the best option for you, as it is very much a team collaboration, and there isn't just one option for everybody, but we need to understand how you're going to use it. What are you looking for? Are you in a growth potential where you want to be able to add something in the future, or are you pretty steady as an organization? So those are some of the other key items to be thinking about, and you look at the digital transformation.